Morning, everybody. Welcome to LockPod, the Midwest's most dangerous podcast. We're coming to you live from the NECA IBW Power in Indiana Lake County studio in the Smith-Sursick Law Firm.
It's Friday.
I think I got it all out.
You did.
All right. It is
Here we
Friday.
are. It's a beautiful sign.
Season 13, episode 6. That's what I forgot. But, yeah, here we are. Hey, Joe. What's up?
Hey.
Welcome. Jay Vaz.
Morning.
Like that shirt. Vote. Remove stubborn orange stains.
I had to get
Oh,
it.
I didn't see that part.
Oh, you didn't see that part?
No,
You
I
just
thought
thought
it
I
was-
was like being vote?
I thought that was a cool logo, yeah.
It
Now
is a
John
cool
hates
logo.
the shirt.
Until then.
John was like, I like your shirt.
Yeah.
He didn't see the bottom.
I didn't see it.
Remove stubborn orange stains.
That's pretty
It's
funny.
got like the Tide look
Yeah.
going.
That's cool.
It says vote with the same like logo as Tide for
I
those
like
of you
it.
that are listening. And John didn't see the bottom.
You sound a little tired today.
I am tired.
Any
I'm
reason?
a Triple Crown, though.
Well, that's good.
My Aura
Explain
ring.
what that means.
If you get a Triple Crown, it means you're in good place.
Nice.
Doesn't mean you're
Yeah, Triple Crown.
leading the league in average home runs and RBIs.
No. It means you
Good
get
sleep.
their body. They call it the readiness score is double digits. I mean, is like 90% or above.
Mm-hmm.
Your exercise is 90% or above, and your sleep was 90% or above, and that's hard to do. All
Wow.
three in the same day. I did
Triple
it.
Crown.
Yeah.
Speaking of Triple Crown or baseball, as baseball guys, Tom and I were just like amazed. I think we were talking about this before the show about Shohei, man. I mean, how does it?
Well, just a couple days ago, he became the first baseball player in history to be 50-50.
Last night.
Last night it was?
Yeah.
Oh, it was
It
last
happened
night?
last
I
night.
thought it was a couple days ago. But 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases in the same season. Nobody's ever done it before.
Yeah, like-
By the way, no
That's
baseball player has
crazy.
ever been a pitcher and a hitter before either. And
And done that successful except Babe Ruth, but when he was pitching,
Except
he
for
wasn't
Babe
that
Ruth.
he wasn't that successful
I
hitting.
mean, yeah.
Yeah,
And he
I
was
mean,
eating hot dogs, so I mean that didn't
There you
help
go.
him at
You
all.
don't hear too much criticism of Babe Ruth, though.
here's his 50th that he did last night.
Ohtani.
By the way,
We saw one of those.
Back it goes.
huge crowd in Miami. I guarantee that's the biggest crowd they've had there in a while.
Yeah.
One of a kind player.
So
One of a kind player.
couple interesting things about this. One, I saw an interview with I think it's Steve Schumacher, the manager of the Marlins, and they asked him why didn't you pitch around him, and he said, "F that."
Good.
He said that's not good for baseball. I told our guys to go at him just like they would any other guy,
Good.
which I
Good.
love.
Yeah, that is good.
And you're part of history then.
Yeah.
But you know what thing that sucks about baseball nowadays, which is unfortunate, is in September, basically all the good teams are winning, all the bad teams are losing, and they got to fix that because the Marlins are horrifyingly bad.
Well-
and so are the White Sox, and so you get teams
White
that
Sox
are
historically bad.
But what you get these playoff teams that just roll through. I mean, I don't find it coincidental that Shohei Ohtani puts up the biggest offensive output in a single game ever against the Marlins in September. I
Well,
find that's no coincidence.
You got to remember, though, a lot of the bad teams call. They get to expand the rosters and call guys up.
I agree.
And
That's
they
why
get to.
I agree.
But I
and,
mean,
and
not
they
all the-
suck.
Yeah, but not all.
If you're not playing for anything, they bring up all their kids, and you're basically playing a AAA team, and you're a major league team trying to go to the playoffs.
But when they do the schedule, you don't know who's going to
I
be good
know,
and
I
bad.
know. But
and
it's
not
like- but-
every good team's playing every bad team.
Like the other day, they had a game. It was the Angels against the A's or something
Yeah.
like that. And it was like,
who cares? But
two
you're always
teams
going to
that
get that.
are-
You
I
get
know,
30.
man.
You get 30 teams. You're going to have
I
that.
know,
Not
man.
every game's going to be a.
I don't think it's good for baseball when you see like 2,000 people in the stands.
I
The White
don't-
Sox had a paid attendance the other day of 14.
The White Sox have
Fucking
117
14.
losses.
There's more hot dog salesmen there than White Sox.
Not
fans.
everyone's going to be a 500 team.
We're getting a new
So-
field though.
That's
No,
exciting.
we're
Who?
not.
White Sox?
No, we're not.
Yeah, in Nashville.
Let me
Yeah,
just-
it'll be the
No, they're-
Nashville White Sox.
Well, it's on the. Is that on the river or something? They're trying to.
They're moving to Nashville. That's my prediction. Sorry,
mean, they
Kevin.
ain't doing shit
Kevin's
there, but-
fucking itching to get something out.
I'm
here.
so excited about Ohtani because this was just amazing to me. I found this graphic. Just to put this 50-50 thing in perspective, there's been 50 baseball players in all time that have hit 50 home runs in a season. Only 14 have stolen 10 bases. Only 5 have stolen 20 bases, and no one's even stolen 30 bases. That's just
And he stole
shows you-
50.
And he stole 50. And he pitches once in a while if he wants to.
Well, he's had Tommy John last year, so
Yeah.
he didn't pitch at all this year. But he's a dominating, hard-throwing pitcher too, which is just in baseball you just don't see it.
Right. You don't see speed and power like that.
You don't. In my whole life, I've never seen a player. In my whole life, I watched baseball from the moment I was a little shit. Right, I've never seen a player that could pitch and hit in the major leagues. I've never seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So like Ohtani, and I've heard about Babe Ruth doing it. Obviously, I wasn't around. And then Ohtani comes along, and not only is he a dominating, hard-throwing, intimidating pitcher, he's the best offensive player in the history of the game.
And you very rarely see somebody, and you haven't, obviously, because he's the first one to do it, to have speed and power.
I mean, who's the last 40-40? Was it Jose Canseco?
You might be right about that.
Barry Bonds,
probably Bonds.
Barry Bonds.
Yeah, maybe
or Sammy Sosa.
I was going to say maybe Sammy.
Right.
40-40.
Because Sammy, I imagine, was fast, and we definitely know he had 40 home runs. Did you have something, Joe? I'm sorry.
How old is he?
Who?
Ohtani.
Not old.
He's,
I don't-
he's
under
really
30?
young, right?
He's not 30. He's not 30.
under
No
30.
way.
Dude, he's going to be doing this at least a decade
I
more.
mean, like he hasn't been in the league that long, right?
Well, he was in Japan for a while, right? He played in Japan, and then he came over.
Kevin
so.
and I went to a game this year, Cubs game, Cubs-Dodgers. I made sure, because I got season tickets, I made sure I went after the Dodgers tickets. That was one of my first things. The horrifyingly most cold game I've ever been to in my
It
life.
was so fucking cold.
It was the coldest goddamn day ever.
Agree.
It was like, if it was a football game, it would have been a cold football game, and it was
It's
baseball
freezing.
game.
And the wind was
Ohtani-
coming right at us.
And I think the Dodgers won 1-0 on a Ohtani screaming line drive. I
Ohtani
remember.
definitely won. He got a home run. I think.
Screaming.
Yeah.
It was like wind was blowing in at like
Yeah.
30 miles an hour. He screamed one out of the stadium.
I
It
bet
was like a
that
line
hurt.
drive.
I bet that hurt on the contact. If it was
For
that
the person
cold.
that caught it, it hurt. But Ohtani hit like a screamer right into the wind.
It was just cool to see him.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
On the coldest fucking day in Wrigley Field
So
I've
good,
been to.
good
Like,
job, Shohei. He went 6 for 6 last night. 3 home runs.
6
Just
for 6.
6 for 6, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, 2 stolen bases. That was his stat line.
No big deal.
Nah.
10 RBIs. 6 for 6.
Whoa.
Yeah. That was worth
Day at the
something.
ballpark.
Yeah. Okay, so on the other end of the spectrum, we wake up to good news in baseball, and then on the other end of the spectrum, if you're a police supporter where I live, you wake up and you see that our neighboring police department, Gary, Indiana, their number 3 highest police officer was indicted in federal court on child pornography charges. And as disturbing as that is, just to hear that, it's even more disturbing when you read the indictment that this was a young man that wanted to be a police officer in Gary, who was part of the Gary Explorers program. This young man was groomed by this police officer, I think it was Commander Bond.
Allegedly.
And then brought into the Gary Police Department, and it's contained in the indictment. And then this young man was basically manipulated to perform acts and to give pictures. And
That's the allegations, yeah.
Commander Bond was caught with that stuff on his phone.
Not good. Not
That
good.
is a bad scandal.
Probably why he resigned a couple months ago.
Yeah, out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's weird, like when cops resign out of nowhere, that's unusual. They have a program, police and firemen have programs called DROP, which you have to give long-term notice to your boss that you're going to retire. And if
Sometimes up to 3 years, right?
Yeah, but like the longer notice you give, the bigger your drop bonus is. So like if somebody retires without dropping in police and fire, you got to scratch your head. Like, what's going on?
Because why would you
here?
give up all that money? Because it's not
It's
an insubstantial sum, right?
It's like 70, 80 grand sometimes
Whoa.
if you give a lot of notice. It's like serious money.
Whoa.
Like 70, 80 grand. All you have to do is give notice. This is the day I want to retire. And by the way, you cannot pull out of that. So if I say I want to retire in 3 years, and then they'll be like, okay, McDermott, that's 80 grand if you retire. You have to make it to that date, though. And once you make it to that date, I can't say, like, the mayor makes me fire chief. I can't be like, okay, never mind, I'm not going to retire. You have to retire. If you don't retire, you give up all your drop money. And you can never get it twice. Once you make a drop decision, that's the one time you got.
Wow.
That's it.
So it's a big decision.
It's a big decision. Like my police chief dropped, he's dropping, I think, next year. And that was a big decision. And, so Andy's a great chief, but, it's a big decision that every police officer makes, every fireman
in their
makes.
career.
But
So
in this one,
it's weird to see somebody
He
just
didn't
say,
drop.
I'm resigning.
he didn't drop, which is like, what? So that was in the middle of the summer, like Kevin said. This commander stepped down without dropping, and you're like, okay, what's going on? And then rumors start happening, and then you're like, okay, the feds are involved somehow. And then you wake up, and bam.
Yeah, pretty.
It was on
Depressing.
his phone?
Yes.
Yeah.
How fucking stupid.
Allegedly, it was in the.
Allegedly, yes.
This
These
is
are all
what
allegations.
all I know is what I read from the U.S. attorneys when they indict somebody. They do like a press release. I read the press release. I read the indictment. That's all I know is what I read.
And it was kind of a quick. I thought it said like
July to now.
July.
July to
Like
now.
that's
Whoa.
so fast for the
Yes.
feds to be
But, like,
to move
you
that
can't
fast. It
have-
must have been that
First off, you got a police officer off. Nobody likes that.
right.
You're like on investigated leave, basically. And he's a high-ranking police officer making, let's say, 80, 90 grand a year to sit at home. So you don't like that if you're the mayor. And obviously the state police are going to be, I think, the great thing about this, I learned this morning, actually, is it was discovered by the Gary Police Department. The Gary Police Department called in the Indiana State Police to investigate. The Indiana State Police investigated, and it was forwarded to the feds. So, like,
All in
this all happened pretty
2.5
quickly.
months.
Yes.
So the allegations are they happened what you said early July.
Yes.
And
so
here we are in late September.
Yeah.
With
So as much as is a stain for the Gary Police Department, I think it's also very positive that the Gary Police Department policed themselves in this case.
Yeah.
Turned it over to the authorities, and now this perpetrator.
Yeah, interesting. I didn't know that. That's great. I mean, it's good to hear that that's how it came about internally.
How long was he on the force? Do we know?
I'm sure
20 years.
plus years. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I think I want to say
number 3 in
2003
command
or something like that. Right.
So there's
He
a
was
chance
long
it's
enough to
not
retire.
it's not just one kid. There's a chance if you've been there that long.
I mean,
I hope
we're
not.
speculating.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
we hope
absolutely
not.
speculating.
Yeah.
But I think it would be very bad luck if you were just 1 for 1. The one time you decided to cross that line, you get caught.
Yikes.
I think that's pretty far-fetched to think that that's the way it happened. I think usually detectives and U.S. attorneys and prosecutors, that's the way they think too, is if they caught a politician stealing money once, I think they're of the opinion that this isn't the only time you stole money. This is the only time
he got caught.
we got caught. You got caught this time. You're not 1 for 1. Oh, damn, the one time I took money, I got caught, right? I think that's the approach they take is okay, asshole, we caught you this time. We're not going to go easy on you because we know there's 100 more, right?
Hey, before we forget, sorry, John.
I was going to say, did you guys say, do we know how old the victim was or no?
It seemed like a teenager, maybe.
Yeah, it was definitely a teenager.
Yeah,
they said that. But it was a police explorer, a kid that wants to be a cop,
Right.
and instead he gets
Yeah.
fucking raped by a cop.
Well, I don't
It's
know. If
disgusting.
I mean, I don't see any how-
Sodomized,
yeah,
whatever,
I don't-
molested. It's
Oh,
a
wait.
young man that wants to be a cop, and then a cop takes advantage of him like
Oh,
that.
I didn't. Wow. I
What?
didn't know that's what the allegations were. I didn't read the indictment.
But yeah,
there was a rape involved.
No. I'm taken advantage of.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, these are all allegations. We'll see what happens. Obviously, it's like we always say, there's, the bad apples make it bad for everybody. So
it's not, my police department and I were talking about this last night, and we have nothing to do with it, and they were not happy campers.
Yeah.
Because they're this makes our job way harder.
Mhm.
Because now everybody's going to be saying stuff to us, and
Sure.
we have nothing to do with this.
Yep.
And the Gary Police Department did police themselves. I think that's an important point
that's
to make.
positive for sure.
Yeah, the mayor and the senior leadership in the Gary Police Department did exactly what they were supposed to do, and they brought in an outside agency, and the outside agency did exactly what they were supposed to do, and they investigated it, they found evidence, and then they kicked it up to the feds, and the feds did exactly what they were supposed to do, and they indicted this piece of shit. And this guy's probably going to go to jail for a long, long time, and he's probably going to lose his police pension, and he's already been disgraced. So the system worked. It just sucks that we're dealing with this.
Hey, before we forget, I just want to. I don't know if we previewed, and you talked about it on Tuesday. We got a great guest coming up later.
Yeah,
and I want to make sure we have people stick around after the 8:00 hour. We've got Abdul-Hakim Shabazz, who's a really well known. If you don't know him already, very well known media personality, lawyer in Indianapolis. And we're going to have Abdul on. We've been trying to get him on for a long time. Mayor Tom's known him for decades. We both have. And this is going to be good. There's also a little, there's a person that both Mayor and Abdul have in common, Gabe Whitley, that we're going to talk about. We've had Gabe on. We've talked about Gabe a lot before, and we've got some very interesting update.
Enemies of Lockpod.
Enemies of Lockpod. There you go.
Enemies
I like
of
that.
Abdul's.
I like that.
Enemies of Lockpod.
Enemies of Lockpod.
But they're enemies of Abdul's also. So
Yeah.
Abdul and Lockpod have a lot in common. So we have similar enemies. And when you have similar enemies, it makes you friends. I've
there you
learned
go.
that in
Your
time.
enemies. Right. Yeah.
Right.
How's that
Enemy
go?
of my enemy.
There you go.
That's right. Is my friend.
But Abdul's
right?
not our enemy.
You know what I thought was
He's
kind
our
of
friend.
cool when I was doing the Skype test with Abdul? I said, hey, I hear I'm going to like you as a guest because we both, I think, have the same political leaning. And he said, at the end of the day, I think Tom and I just want good government.
Yeah.
That's-
Abdul and
that-
I get along.
That's him.
He likes me, and he's Republican. And John, you like me, and you're Republican.
Yeah.
Abdul is cool, man. You're gonna like him. He's a great guest. He's on air all the time, so he's very comfortable.
Mhm.
Cool.
Indie
Yeah.
TV.
Indie TV,
he runs
Indie radio.
Yeah, he
like
runs
if you go to Indianapolis and say Abdul, everybody knows who
Mhm.
you're talking about.
Without a
And
doubt. So we're looking forward to having him
It's a
after
big
the
get
8 o'clock
for
hour.
Lockpod.
Stick around.
We're happy to have him. Thanks for coming on, and he'll be in the third segment. So stick with us. Hey, there's a epidemic going across America right now with bomb threats, active shooter threats against schools.
And it seems like it's. Does it seem
Do you
like it's
agree?
maybe yes? And does it seem like it's because it's right at the beginning of the school year? I don't
Joe,
know why that
Joe,
would be.
you
I
spend a
mean,
lot of time in schools. What do you think about this?
It's just kids not wanting to be in school.
It's so annoying,
it's
though.
It's
like an
rampant
epidemic
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something nationwide going on.
But that happened like when I was in high school. Kids were calling in bomb
But it's
threats,
way
like
worse,
literally
though,
from
Joe.
inside the school.
It's way worse.
Oh no,
But
you're
now-
right. You're right.
Now, like, we had a kid from like Ohio or something that was calling in bomb threats to like Valpo, to the schools in Valpo. So like they're finding the kids that are calling in aren't even students there now. They're
It's not
calling
going to help
in
you
across-
not go to school.
And then there's another thing, like a kid called in for like a school with a similar name. And then like they were like, no, I meant the one in Tennessee, not
my
the one in
God.
Indiana. And the freaking schools in Indiana all shut down. They're like, no, not Portage, Indiana, Portage, Michigan, or whatever. So like they're getting like similar names that are like shutting down multiple school districts,
Yeah.
and they didn't
Right.
even intend for it to be. It's just really, it's just not. So
Well, tell us about this sheriff that decided to take things in his own hands about these.
a Florida sheriff who's fed up with school shooting hoaxes posted an 11-year-old boy who called in a bomb threat, posted his mugshot, and did a perp walk with him on
Good.
purpose. So the kid's face was in full view of the media. Usually,
Juveniles, they're like, oh, we can't say who it is.
right,
and
and
this.
they shield their name.
Right,
it's
right,
like,
right.
oh, it's a little kid, right?
interesting.
But now, because of what's going on, they're like, we're going to treat these kids like, and we're going to shame the family, basically.
Volusia County Sheriff. Mike Chitwood.
I like this whole development we're starting to see in the law now when it comes to juvenile crime, because juvenile crime is a problem in Hammond, and I get very frustrated. I got in trouble almost as a lawyer because I was bitching that we catch these bad little kids, and then the juvenile system goes, and then the kids just come out and they're bad little kids the very next day, and they're even more emboldened because they got arrested by our guys and got right back out again, and they're like, "Fuck you, I'm back." Right?
Yeah, and I think that was you mentioned that you almost got in trouble, and I think you were being a little bit, but I think the point there was
It was a sticky situation.
yeah, there you go. But I think the
with
point,
like discipline threats involved.
yeah, because I think the issue there was, and what we learned through like having Judge Stefaniak on and others is that like they're constrained. You
Yes.
know, like the way the system is
yeah.
set up, right? Okay.
But how is
So-
Florida able to do it then? Like,
They don't
Because
give a shit
people
about
grow
anything?
upset and then they say, "Fuck
Yeah.
it, I'm going to do it because it's the right thing to do."
well, I listened to the sheriff's press conference, and he was like, he actually was going after the parents. He said, "Listen,
Yeah.
if you don't want to raise your kids right, I'm going to start raising them, and we're going to start with the perp walk stuff."
Yeah,
I like it.
too.
Fuck yeah, right?
It's
Perp
like,
walk.
you know,
Like, stop shielding these little shitheads.
well, like you said, Mayor, you know, you can't. These kids, they almost get emboldened. Like, yeah, I got arrested, man. I was in the jail.
And
I'm back out. Like, look at me
Fuck
now.
you.
Like you know, it's almost
You
like a
think
badge
that-
of honor.
Right? You think that dissuades them from doing it
They
again?
think they're tough.
By the way, when you're in the juvenile system, if it's not a serious enough crime like murder or something horrifying like rape or anything,
Where you can get
if
waived.
if it's just like theft or something, they get rid of your charge anyway. It
Yeah.
disappears as soon as you turn 18. So you could be a total little devil. And you could do whatever the hell you want. And you go to our juvenile system, it's like, oh, Johnny, don't do that again, Johnny.
And I can see
So
if
stupid.
if a kid makes a mistake and like shoplifts
Yes,
or something like that.
I
I
do.
get that. But to
Kevin,
me, this
we have hardened criminals
for
that
sure
are under 18.
without a doubt. And you see
hardened
it as mayor.
criminals.
You see it.
I see it. Hardened criminals.
Yes.
And they go in there and they're like, okay, Johnny, don't do it again, Johnny. And Johnny's back 2 days later.
The point is, like, for something like a school, I would like to see something like a school threat where, like, there's either an automatic waiver, it becomes a low-level felony or
Agreed.
something. Because you can't allow kids...
So whose decision is that?
I guess it'd be the legislature. Be the legislature
So
to
does
change
Bernie,
it.
does Bernie have any authority?
No,
at
because
that
he has
point?
to abide by whatever the law is. If you're
So
under
if a
18...
17-year-old, if a 16-year-old calls in a bomb threat, you can't take that person and charge them as an adult?
You'd have to go through the waiver process to waive into adult court, and I don't think it qualifies as a waiver offense. So
Do you know
that's
that?
I don't know it for a fact, but the waiver offenses are like murder, rape.
Well, then maybe we
kidnapping.
need to do something because this is becoming an epidemic, and our kids are learning more about active shooter drills and learning more about how to flee a school when you have a bomb threat than learning fucking math. It's goddamn.
And it's disruptive.
Dude, our schools aren't places of learning anymore. It's like woke agenda. We're throwing books in the garbage. It's like, oh, we're going to have a massive school shooting here. This is what you do if there's a massive school shooting. And by the way, in the middle of the school shooting lecture, we got interrupted 3 times with a bomb threat.
Mm-hmm.
And why are our schools falling behind? I wonder. Because we like coddle these little kids that are monsters. They're monsters. And we got to stop coddling them and treating them like, oh, little Johnny, you got to learn better.
I think you really got to make the punishment more severe. I mean, if that means 30 days in jail or juvenile, whatever, I mean, it's not like you get back out. I mean, it's got to be some more punishment for threatening and disrupting a place of education, period.
So do you think the record should not be wiped when they hit 18? Do you
No,
think
I'm
they
not
should
saying
carry-
that. I'm
No,
saying
just,
that it
what's
should
your
be-
opinion?
I just
in
think
my
the punishment
opinion,
needs to be.
I think it should be easier to make it adult charges. A lot easier. Like if it's shocking, if it's disruptive, if it's like community disruptive, it's like, nope, sorry, I don't care if you're 14. We're charging you as an adult, and you're gonna have to deal with it, little Johnny. Don't fucking do that.
And you would
it's against the law, and there's no respect for it.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, even with adult charges, you still have the expungement route eventually, but you got to be clean for years. And like Mayor said, that if, like Tom said, if you've got these kids that are not going to be clean for years, they're just going to keep committing.
Kevin, there's kids. I hate to say it. They're too far gone by the time they're 16 and 17. They're not going to go to college. They're not going to be gainfully employed. You could tell. Yeah. And it's like, and then they're committing serious adult crimes, and we send them to the juvenile center, and the legal system just slaps them on the wrist. And they're little monsters. And eventually they're going to kill somebody. They're going to rape somebody. They're going to do something serious, and we're going to have to deal with it down the road. But like that could be my kid that gets murdered or raped. That could be a family member, a friend. Like, and we have to wait for that serious crime to happen before we're proactive enough to take care of a problem.
I thought what the sheriff did down in Florida was really interesting, and I thought a really good way to do this. And he did a Facebook post, 270,000 views. The video cuts to the kid getting out of a squad car, leading him handcuffed into a cell. He's shackled behind his back, and he says, "Do you have any questions?" And then he bolts the door. "No, sir," the boy replies. And under Florida law, juvenile court records are generally exempt from public release, but not if the child is charged with a felony, as in this case. So in Florida, it's just if you're charged with a felony. So it's really interesting. I like it. I wish we could toughen up on school threats. It's terrible.
I think we could. I think we have elected officials that are choosing not to because it's not popular. It's like,
man, I would think it would be popular.
I think it would be too.
Yeah, I would think. I think it's a very small percentage of the population that thinks people that call in threats to schools should be coddled. I mean, I hope we take a stronger stance on this.
Well, it's an epidemic. So,
yeah.
Hey, man, we're not going to dive too deep into this next topic. It's just amazing what happened over the weekend with the pagers and the walkie-talkies with Israel and Beirut and Hezbollah. It's intensifying what's going on over there.
It's shocking. The coordination is shocking. Like,
it's incredible.
And impressive. Like,
yeah.
how?
Oh,
they intercepted a shipment that Hezbollah made to a Taiwan walkie-talkie / beeper place. They intercepted it. They duplicated batteries. This is what I heard on TikTok. And TikTok had this whole thing. It was really impressive. If it's fake, damn good job, by the way. But they replaced the batteries exactly with exact duplicate batteries. One battery was powering the device. The other battery was an explosive. And it looked exactly the same. And they replaced all the batteries in all the devices, and they forwarded it. So, like, it had a one-day detour through their CIA or whatever they call it.
Yeah, Mossad, or
Mossad,
if Israel's behind it, which every indication is that it was.
And then so Mossad takes control of the beepers. They insert the new batteries. They
amazing.
forward it to Hezbollah. Hezbollah has no idea that the beepers were manufactured. They separate the thousands of beepers to all their operatives, and then there's like a trigger.
Yeah, so amazingly, I guess as a way to avoid being tracked, they use pagers, is what I've read. And so
because it's something that happened previously.
I guess it's like low volt, like it's not like your phone, right? A pager
GPS.
has no GPS. It's just like a electronic device, right? It has that can communicate. And so they sent a message on these pagers that allegedly
that's
was
true, John.
Pagers
Can't be tracked like a cell phone.
I don't think so.
No,
Is that why all the drug dealers use pagers?
Maybe same thing.
Do they still?
I don't know. They still do.
Back in the 80s, they did.
There you go.
Where
Yeah.
do you get a pager now?
In the 90s, I remember drug dealers always using pagers. They were way ahead.
So supposedly this is a way for Hezbollah operatives to communicate, and allegedly, from what I read, they sent a message that was from Hezbollah leadership. It buzzed. They looked at it, had a delay, and kaboom. And that's why a lot of the injuries are hand injuries and eyeball injuries and face injuries and stuff like that.
The bad part of this is when it blew up, they could have been in a crowded supermarket.
Children have died, right?
The kids could have been using the beeper. Like, who knows?
Could have been near it. Yeah, I mean,
and
the videos are
there was
made.
innocent victims in this. Obviously, lots of innocent victims.
That's sad.
And it's certainly not going to de-escalate a brewing situation between Lebanon and Israel, but more importantly, between Iran, Hezbollah, Lebanon, and Israel.
And don't forget Gaza's happening.
And we
Who's
got Gaza.
Israel not fighting with at this point over there?
I mean,
Everybody?
The whole area is about to go crazy.
Yeah.
And
I
then
mean-
and then that, without even mentioning Ukraine and what's going on in Ukraine.
two-front war. I mean, those are tough. And
We've been
Israel's about
involved
to-
in war in America since 9/11. I was thinking about that yesterday. Since 9/11, we've been at war.
one way or another, right?
That's 2001. We've been at war since 2001 in America. It's 23 years of war straight.
I mean, the upside is right now there aren't any boots on the ground.
Agree.
Which is
Agree.
a good thing.
But anyway, we got to get moving.
All right.
So we're
Hey.
going to come back, talk some P. Diddy. And then after P. Diddy, we're coming back with Abdul. It's
right.
going to be a good show. So let's do our first set of ads, and we'll do some P. Diddy. And then we'll be at Abdul probably in about 15 minutes. Abdul will be on. So Power in Indiana Lake County is our premier and studio sponsor. Power in Indiana Lake County is your source for the region's most trusted electricians. Are you thinking of finishing your basement, installing outdoor security cameras, or does your business have plans to break ground on a new project? Don't leave important projects in the wrong hands. With IBEW Local 697 electricians, you're choosing the highest level of safety and reliability. Visit powerindiana.org today to ensure your project's in the hands of skilled professionals who deliver on time and on budget. Find your electrical contractor at powerindiana.org.
MCR Partners is your one-stop destination for top-notch expertise in economic development, finance, and planning. With a dedicated team geared up to tackle your projects head-on, they're your go-to comprehensive solution providers. Dive into the world of economic development with MCR Partners and let them guide you through the maze of opportunities. For more information, check out their website at mcrpartnersllc.com. For tailored assistance, don't hesitate to reach out to Matt Reardon at 219-741-9511.
Misprint Printing. Elevate your brand with Misprint, the premier printing and sign solution in Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana. With a 30-year legacy of excellence, their experienced team led by Rick Baltonsberger combines innovation and technology to deliver top-quality signs and printing always on time and within budget. Thank you. Conveniently
Ooh, that had a
located
good
in
bounce.
That was a huge bounce, by the way. Conveniently located in Munster and Hammond, Misprint is your partner for creating impactful visual solutions. Visit them at misprintusa.com to bring your vision to life today.
No need to dress up. It's a casual place. We're talking about Frankie V's. Bring the whole family. We have plenty of space. A hidden gem in Hammond. You don't have to drive far. Delicious food, great service, and yes, a full bar. Try our homemade pizza chips, Italian beef, sausage, marinara, and more. We have delicious pizza, pasta, and Italian foods galore. Don't go where they don't remember you. It's just not the same. Come to Frankie V's, where everybody really knows your name. Visit us today at thefrankieV's.com for daily specials, full menu, and hours. That's thefrankieV's.com.
Cantrell and Cantrell, attorneys at law. Are you injured or in trouble with the law? Give Cantrell and Cantrell a call and schedule your consultation with someone who's in the court and at the jail every single day. Call John Cantrell at 219-554-4LAW or visit their website at bettercallcantrell.com. John and his wife Kristen make a great team and are waiting to hear from you.
Calumet Brewing. Michelob Ultra is a superior light beer brewed for those who understand that it's only worth it if you enjoy it. Containing only 95 calories and 2.6 carbs, Michelob Ultra is a light lager brewed with the perfect balance of hops and wholesome grains, producing a crisp, refreshing finish. With Michelob Ultra, there's no better time to crack open a cold one. Head over to CalBrew or Michelob Ultra social media websites for info on this great family of beers. Enjoy the Michelob Ultra lifestyle with beers and cheers responsibly.
All right.
Thank you to our sponsors.
Thank you to our sponsors. Don't forget, in about 10 minutes, we're going to have the amazing Abdul of Indianapolis, WIBC, and multiple other organizations. He's going to be on our show for our guest in the third segment. So, P. Diddy. Let's talk some P. Diddy.
The Diddler.
The Diddler. That's I can't believe nobody's ever said that name before, the Diddler. Or
It's
did
great.
we just come up with that?
I don't know.
I saw it somewhere.
I
Oh,
saw it
really?
today.
we weren't the first.
I thought we were the first. But the Diddler, I heard a rumor, and it came from the internet, so I don't know if it's true.
Okay.
Okay, I heard a rumor that when the feds raided P. Diddy's multiple complexes, that 784 dildos had been seized.
There it is. Well, there's a graphic, so it must be true.
I
gotta be
heard
true, right,
There
John?
was gallons of baby oil too.
That's
That
that I heard too. Yeah,
I did. I heard
$1,000.
both of them.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not
Well,
sure.
you know, it's interesting as you get into this indictment, and
a lot
it's
of
about
penetration.
abuse,
you
threatening.
need
and
both, right?
What's that?
With that amount, you
You
would
do
need
need
both
both.
those amounts.
Good point.
Yeah,
Not sure.
yeah. That's a,
Don't know.
Quick answer from Kevin.
Yeah.
Don't.
Tom was like, yeah.
Kevin's entire purpose in life on Lockpot is not to get sued. So you have to understand when you ask Kevin a question like that, it's like, no.
Not sure.
Or in trouble by Jana.
Either. I'm trying to avoid both.
Yeah.
Um,
You never get in trouble for the
No.
show.
Well, she doesn't listen.
It'd be like 3
Yeah,
weeks later
she's
when she
smart.
listens to that episode.
Like,
She's
what
like, you
the-
mother. That was like 2 weeks later. That was 2
Exactly.
weeks ago, Jana.
Like, that's old news.
Kevin, were you talking about vibrators today?
Yeah.
on
What'd you say
Lockpod?
about dildos and baby oil?
There's the title.
No.
Featuring
No.
Abdul
No.
Shabazz.
No,
I'm
we
kidding.
cannot
I'm
do that.
kidding.
Yeah. Like, Vesmar's famous for that. Like, we have a good guest on, and then he'll name it like dildos and.
Yeah. Last week was probably moist or something.
Yeah, probably moist. Thank God that was no. We
Yes,
did that
we
with a
did not have
guest
a
one time,
guest.
an important guest, and it was a ridiculous name.
It was Go Fuck Yourself.
Yeah, that was
and
the
it was
one.
a mayor, a female mayor. Who was
There
there?
we go. And it stood up
Yeah,
and it stayed
dude.
up all summer.
By the way, she never ran again. That was the
Way to
last
go,
time
John.
she's quit
Styron.
after that, John.
And she was awesome.
She's not a mayor anymore right now, and
Oh,
because of
no.
that stupid
Lockpod.
show.
Enemies of Lockpod.
It was, yeah.
Hey,
So-
to be fair, I always run the titles by Kevin, just to
Yeah.
get a double, like a
Kevin
sign-off.
approved that one?
Yes,
I don't
This
remember.
is a Kevin approved.
I don't
title.
know.
Probably moist was approved by Kevin.
it was.
But
Thank
about-
you for the friendship bracelet, Joe.
Hey. Which one did you go with?
The pink one, of course.
Yeah, but
This
what,
is very-
so what album is that?
Eras.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it looks really cool.
It's not an album, but okay.
Okay, it
I
says
got it.
Eras.
Man, I'll wear the black one.
Is that
Reputation.
the friendship bracelet supposed to say things? You can't just like put a string on or something
You
like
can
that.
do whatever you want.
I
Live
can't
your
wait to
best
wear
life.
these to the show.
Yeah.
So back to baby oil and dildos.
Yes.
P. Diddy,
Mhm.
away from friendship bracelets and eras.
Mm-hmm.
He's in trouble.
Yeah, he's in trouble, and this is really interesting.
I don't think you're gonna be downloading his music, new music.
No, not any new ones. He's been indicted and under allegations of abusing, threatening, and coercing women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct for over a decade. There's this really interesting portion of this thing about freak-offs. Have you guys heard about this?
Yeah.
Only since
No.
this went down. Freak Ops. You never
Yeah.
heard
Do-
of Freak Off?
Do
Jill?
tell.
I was never invited, by the way, to one. Well, probably fortunately at this point.
Yeah.
You didn't
When I
do that
took
on the
over,
plane?
Freak Offs in Hammond were a problem, and I
And
stopped
that,
them.
you've been very
There's
good
zero
at
freak-offs
stopping
in
down
Hammond.
freak-offs.
There was plenty of Freak Offs before I took over.
I've noticed a severe decrease of freak-offs since you've been
I think
mayor.
it's down basically to zero in Hammond. There's zero Freak Offs in Hammond. So
So what it is an elaborate and produced sex performance with victims and sex workers, with instances of physical and sexual abuse, and these things were going on.
A bunch of men basically standing around, and there would be like porn stars and men and women both, and basically they would last days.
Yeah, he flew sex workers in. This is the allegations. Flew sex workers in from around the world for days-long sex performances. And he directed, there's an allegation that he arranged, directed, and masturbated during them, and gave women drugs like ecstasy and ketamine to fight off exhaustion.
Yeah, man.
Stocked them with baby oil, lubricant, extra linens. There was so much damage to a Manhattan penthouse that he needed $46,000 to cover the damage.
If
Seems
Tom
like
had a
lot
freak
of
off,
work.
Tom had a
Seems like
freak
a
off,
lot
it'd be
of
like
work.
27 second.
I know. What would I
Just
do?
really
Like,
short freak off.
I'd be like, what do we do now?
Now what's going
Can
on?
I put on the TV?
Give
or
me some of that
something?
ketamine.
like I'd be watching TV like 2 minutes into the freak off.
The crazy thing about this is it alleges that P. Diddy did a lot of physical abuse to these women, and they felt that they weren't really. His defense is they all wanted to be there, and
Right.
the women are saying that's really not true. We
It was
didn't
like-
feel like we had a choice.
It was like Velvet Glove prison kind of thing.
There you go. There you
right?
go. That's a really good way to
It's
put
like
it.
you get drugs, you get to go to nice places, you get whatever you want. You just have to be basically. They're going to prostitute you,
And
and then if you're amenable to that, agreeable to that, then you'll live a life that you probably couldn't afford to live. Right?
Sure. You get he
Right.
would buy
You get to
car.
do-
He would silence
Right.
you after you beat the hell out of you by buying you a car.
Right, and then you'd be doing
And
drugs all
exposure, you
day,
get to
and
meet
then-
all these people,
right.
and-
then every once in a while he'll beat the shit out of you,
Yeah.
which is bullshit. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously we're not condoning this.
No.
at all. In fact, there's a video of him in a hotel with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
where he was running down the hall naked. He's got a towel wrapped around him, and he beats the shit out of her in the hotel lobby. It's
We got a
fucking
clip there.
disturbing.
That's from 2016.
And by the way, he bought this video from the hotel so that it would prevent it
Think
from
about
coming
that.
out. Like he knows what this would do to his career, so he bought the security tape from. And this is probably through law enforcement. We got it then, right?
Yeah, it was in the article. And I think the interesting thing about this the recent news this week is that he was denied. They detained him in federal court. unlike in state court, you're not given bail necessarily. There's a detention hearing. And if you are considered to be a danger to the community, a danger to others, a flight risk, danger to witnesses,
he's literally a flight risk.
They can detain you.
He's got airplanes.
Well, it seems like also they're alleging he's a danger to witnesses.
Right.
There's all these text messages where he's like texted somebody like 128 times once the investigation started, and like
Get
people
out
are
of here.
in a day.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so that's something that the judge was like, and it was so interesting because the defense attorneys were like, "We'll take his cell phone. We'll put he can't access the internet. We'll put a security force with him. We'll put an IT department with him so he can't access anything. He can't have any contact with
because he
emails.
has so much money he could hire an IT
Yeah,
department.
and it's like the judge is like, no,
ridiculous.
that's not the issue. The issue is witness tampering and concern for a flight. I mean, it's crazy. So
When was
he
the last time he did anything? Like, when's the last time he put music
When's
out?
the last
or-
freak-
He just
Well,
got
no.
like a lifetime achievement during like a music award
Yeah,
show.
he did.
well, he became more like a producer, like almost like a Dr. Dre, right?
like,
where he
he's a
promotes
bi-
other people.
Dude, he's a billionaire,
He's
right?
got vodka,
we all agree.
right? He just
Probably
got-
not billion. I'm
Hundreds
not
of
going
millions.
billion. I'm not
Yeah.
going billion.
Okay, hundreds of millionaire. Okay,
Yeah.
I'd
And
feel
he
pretty
offered,
secure if I had $100 million.
Yeah.
yeah.
I would be like, I'm not like digging ditches anymore. You know, I'm not.
Did they pull his stuff off of like Spotify?
I don't think so. No.
No. Are you supposed to, like when Chase was in here and he said he download all this stuff he downloaded from Drake he got rid of? Are we supposed to do that with P Diddy?
Did we
I only
do that
have
with
like a
R.
couple
Kelly?
songs. Huh?
Did we do that with
I already
Kelly?
did it. I did it naturally. I never downloaded any. But
didn't
like I
either.
do have P Diddy on my phone. I'll be
do
missing
not.
you, which I love
Oh.
that song. It's a great
check it
song.
out.
It's
Dude,
a great song.
There's a rap verse from Diddy in a Biggie Smalls song that's
Which one?
might be my favorite. I can't even think of the name of the song right now.
All right.
I could sing the verse though.
Okay, go.
No, I'm not going to.
Come on, man. I sing on
Let's
this
hear
show.
it, John.
I need
right.
you to dance. I need you to strip. I need you to shake your little ass and hips. Anyways, it goes on and on.
Really?
It's such a great verse. It's like, God
I like
That's
damn.
the
that.
title
John
of
was
the song.
rapping. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the title, John.
Yeah.
What? The lyrics of that song?
No.
Okay.
I want you
The-
to shake. I want you to shake your ass and hips,
Yeah.
featuring Abdul.
Featuring John Vesma.
No, but so him being denied bail is wild. Didn't they offer like $50 million or something?
Yeah, and again, like in federal court, it's not necessarily the money. It's about they can detain you for your risk, the risk of you either fleeing or a danger to others. And this is, I wanted to bring this up before we go. I know we got to get to Abdul and we got to do ads real quick. I want to just bring this up. There's this alternate theory flying around out there, and I want to thank a lock potter for giving this to me. That like there's this theory that this has to do with Tupac murder, and that somehow is it Keefe D or Keefe?
There's a
Keefe D.
There's a guy
was
out
arrested.
there. We talked about this on Lockpod before.
But
with
the
Pete
whole-
Novak in the studio.
Right.
There's a guy out there. Yeah, he had Puff in you know, what's the word I'm looking for? I wanted to say indicted. What's the word when they
Probable cause.
No, when somebody blames you. God, what's the word?
Implicated?
Implicated. Thank you. That's the word. He
Good job,
implicated. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. I wanted to say indicted. But
So Keefe D, I don't know if it's Keefe D or Keefe D. He's been in federal custody for a while, and the theory is he's been spilling his guts about Diddy,
I don't think that's a stretch.
and then now that they've got Diddy in federal custody, it's like
I don't think
what's
that's
going to
a
happen
stretch.
with the Tupac murder.
So
This
they
might-
got him easy on the freak offs and all the
Yeah.
sexual trafficking, but in the long play for them is to try to get him on Tupac.
interesting. I think that's really, really interesting of a theory.
Do
So
you think all this shit is why he changed his name multiple times?
to
Yeah.
the diddler,
Well, no, he was like Puff Daddy, he was Diddy, he
Yeah.
was P Diddy.
I think
The
everybody
Diddler-
knew who he was.
That's a good one.
It is, man. It's like a Batman
That's
character.
his prison name.
Yeah,
Diddler.
maybe.
This
So we're
could
going to
be-
follow this along. It's going to be really
Yeah.
interesting.
He's still on Spotify, by the way. I just checked.
Yeah.
When you read the charges, like this is like this is gangster.
Yeah.
He ran with Biggie Smalls. It was all gangster music. Like this could be the last big gangster going down, right? This is gangster stuff. I'll say that.
Oh, I agree with you, John.
Yeah.
It's definitely stuff like mob-like shit.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's go ahead. We got a guest waiting, an important guest. You know, Abdul-Hakim Shabazz. We've been trying to get on this show for multiple seasons.
Stay tuned.
He's a busy person. He's got multiple media obligations also, but he put time in his calendar for you, Lockpod. So let's give him a good audience. Let's ask good questions. Kevin, get your shit together for this.
Share the
I'm
stream
ready.
You know what I'm
now.
saying? Like,
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Don't be
As soon
like
as we're
going
done
in
with the
this
ads, I'm
half-assed.
ready.
All right, ready? All right, let's. Tortillas Nuevo Leon is the gold standard in Mexican cuisine across the Midwest. Look for Tortillas Nuevo Leon's popular red and white label at your local grocery store and enjoy quality Mexican products made with local expertise.
Tortillas Nuevo León, hechas con amor, para ti y tu familia de todo corazón. Tortillas Nuevo León, hechas con amor, para ti y tu familia de todo corazón.
For decades, the Ron J. Prestomer Insurance Agency has been located. Wow, there's a typo in this, Kevin.
I'll correct that.
Anyway, they're on Indianapolis Boulevard, serving all of your insurance needs. The Prestomer Agency specializes in a wide range of insurance products and services, including auto, home, business, life, and much more. The Prestomer Agency serves thousands of people and businesses throughout Chicagoland and the Midwest. Call Ron Arani today at 219-844-0103. They're here to protect what matters most to you.
Byway Brewing is a family-friendly microbrewery with a spacious taproom and outdoor patio, serving its award-winning craft beer, a chef-driven food menu, and craft cocktails on draft. Their brewing equipment and production facility offer a unique backdrop for events like bridal showers, reunions, or corporate parties. With their new food truck, they can cater to your corporate and private events off-site just off of 8094 at Kennedy Avenue, South Exit. Discover more at bywaybrewing.beer. I'm looking forward to a Byway breakfast tomorrow morning.
Nice. I am too. Big Den
What?
breakfast.
Yes,
tomorrow.
Big Den breakfast
That's
tomorrow
right.
morning.
Thank you for bringing it up. Kuklakis Law. Are you facing legal challenges and don't know what to do? Who are you going to call? Kuklakis Law. That's who. Look no further than Kuklakis Law, your trusted source for legal advice in Indiana and Illinois. Do you need help buying or selling real estate? Call Kuklakis Law. Forming a new business? Call Kuklakis Law. Injured in a car crash or at work? Call Kuklakis Law. No matter what your legal issue is, call Kuklakis Law at 219-671-6347 to schedule your free consultation. Who are you going to call? Kuklakis Law. That's who. Hablamos Español.
When you want the best for your home and family, trust the best in the business, Rogers Roofing. Rogers Roofing has transformed homes in Northwest Indiana and Chicagoland for more than 55 years, providing quality roofing, siding, gutters, and windows, all backed by the best warranties in the industry. To learn more and to schedule your free consultation, call Rogers Roofing, or visit rogersroofing.com or call 219-933-9145 today. That's rogersroofing.com or 933-9145. And remember, at Rogers Roofing, excellence is expected every time.
Thanks to our sponsors, including our studio sponsor, Power in Indiana, Lake County.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my proud pleasure to introduce Abdul-Hakim Shabazz, who is a radio commentator, a political analyst. He's on TV, he's in print, he's on radio every day.
He's famous.
He's famous in Indianapolis. If you say Abdul, everybody knows who you're talking to. Welcome to Lockpod, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. How are you doing, my friend?
Good. You know, you're here, and this is your first. We've talked a number of times over the years. I've been a guest on Abdul's show multiple times. Last two we did was from the DNC Live. So, Abdul, how long have you been doing radio now?
30 years, believe it or not. 20 years here in Indianapolis, another 10 years back home in Illinois.
And so you grew up in the Chicago area?
Grew up in Chicago, went to college at Northern Illinois University, right outside DeKalb. By the way, sorry they beat Notre Dame. I don't know what happened.
Oh my God,
there.
dude! You had to
Huskies.
say that. Right?
Huskies, a Husky,
I don't
man.
need that shit right now. Come on,
And you know
it's
what, my
early in the
friend?
morning.
I don't even follow football. Even I was like, whoa, that's
Thanks, man. Thanks, dude. All right, that's a great interview. Let's move on.
yeah. We worked at WJBC Radio in Bloomington, Illinois, which is literally 140 miles up the road from WIBC Radio along I-74.
Wow.
Did that for a couple of years. Went to graduate school at the University of Illinois. Got my master's in government and politics. Then went to work for the Illinois Attorney General at the time. I worked for him. I went to law school in St. Louis University, good Jesuit university down in St. Louis. Drove 3.5 nights a week for 100 miles each way for 3.5 years at night. Worked during the day,
Wow.
went to law school at night. Yeah. Then graduated, took the bar exam. They told me I failed the bar exam. I was mistaken the bar exam. Turned out I passed the bar exam. It was a fun time back then.
But like,
Then
you're a man of multiple talents, huh?
I'm like Forrest Gump in a weird way.
What?
Yeah.
Abdul, it's Kevin. I was just curious, like, what kind of brought you from, I mean, you're kind of like a well-known Hoosier, right? So how did an Illinois guy end up in Indy doing and being a famous and known media personality in Indianapolis?
In a weird way, I was doing talk radio back in Springfield, basically doing the same thing I did there as I do here, covering the government, writing about local issues, practicing law, teaching part-time. And my boss at the time, he was our program director. He went to host a radio station down in Florida for a company called Intercom. So he was there for about a week or so. And then I get a phone call, like, hey, Abdul, these guys at Intercom looking for a morning show host for a property they own in Indianapolis. I was like, okay, well, sure, I'll play along. Then sent him over a couple audition tapes, and I actually did an audition. Next thing you know, he said, "Hey, Abdul, you want to come work here?" I was like, "Sure, I'll do it for a couple of years." And so I had a place back in Springfield, so I just come here during the week, Indy during the week, do the radio show, go home on the weekends. And then about 6 months after doing that, the girl I was dating at the time, she's like, "Abdul, I can't do this anymore." I was like, "What? Huh? I can't date you, blah, blah, blah." Just like, okay, great. And by the way, it was the day that Christopher Reeve, Superman, died, which I will never forget that. Because he said I got the Superman shirt right there. So it's like, well, may as well hang out here for a while. The next thing you know, I'd be my future wife on a blind date. And
next thing you know, it's 2024.
Later, yep, we're still here.
Yeah, man. Then you're like 55 years old. It's like, what the hell happened? Well, it's good to see you again, man. So you were involved in politics for a while before your radio career and all that, also, right?
Yeah, I was a spokesperson, media policy advisor for the Illinois Attorney General, a gentleman by the name of Jim Ryan.
So the Attorney General should naturally like you. You were, and I know our Attorney General has a major problem with you, Todd Rokita, right?
Well, the funny thing is I got along with Steve Carter, with Greg Zeller, with Curtis Hill. But for some reason, that Todd Meister, I don't know what roll of coins is stuck up his butt when it comes to me.
He's a Munster guy. We're in Munster, Indiana right now, but Todd Rokita is the most common talked about politician, even more than Biden on Lockpod. And so naturally, an enemy of Abdul is also our enemy. So welcome to the show. We have common enemies.
But Abdul, on this Rokita thing, like two things stick out, right? One, when he was running for Senate, he said that he didn't want you as the moderator because you weren't conservative enough. I remember that. And then two, he wouldn't let you in his press conferences. So can you talk a little bit about both those things? Like how that, I mean, you guys are both Republicans, at least. I mean, I'm not saying that all, people of the same party get along, but what's with you and Rokita?
Well, it was weird because back in 2018 during the U.S. Senate debate, I got a call from the debate commission. Like, "Hey, Abdul, hey, Gary, what's up? Like, we'd love to have you be the moderator for the Republican primary debate." I was like, wow, oh my God. Because to be, a local political reporter, to moderate a statewide debate of major candidates is a big deal. Like, holy crap. Awesome. Thank you. And then, because at first everybody was fine with me as a moderator. And then I get a call from Gary saying, "Hey, Abdul, we got a problem. Todd Rokita doesn't want you there as a debate." Like, what the hell are you talking about? What's that? Like, tell you. And actually, Tom, you'll be surprised. I actually put my ego on the shelf for this one.
Uh-huh.
Like, I was like, tell you what, Gary, the moderator is not important. What's important is that the voters get to hear from all three of these candidates. And if that's what it takes to get all three of the candidates in there, then I'll step aside and just go back to my business as usual.
Uh-huh.
Then Gary was like, "No, we're not going to cave. We have this going on because if we cave to this guy this time, who knows what'll happen down the road." So eventually we're just going to do it with me, Luke Messer, and Mike Braun. But ironically, it turns out then Rokita found religion or Jesus or somebody.
Mm-hmm.
He would actually do the debate. And for the first, I'd say 36 minutes, everything was fine. But I had to remind people during the introduction, Luke Messer, blah, blah, blah. And just so you folks know, the moderator is not on the ballot. That's why the moderator is over here and not over there. And for about 30 minutes, we're fine. Then Rokita, Leopard doesn't change his spots, going on about, I'm against the deep state, like Luke Messer and Abdul. Like I told you folks, once again, moderator not on the ballot. So that was that whole
Couldn't
thing.
help himself.
Yeah. Then came the whole thing about me being invited to his news conference because we got the news release in the mail. Secretary of State. Our Attorney General says we're going to have a news conference. It was on. It was like on like spamming or something stupid. It was very non-eventful. Like, hey, I need a little bit of tape, so I'll go do it. Blah blah. So I went to the event, and his media guy was outdoors. I was like, I was like, "No, you're not allowed in." I was like, "You're not allowed in. Like, you're not credentialed." Like, "Yes, I have. I got my badge right here. I got credentialed." Like, really? Seriously? Is this the game we're going to play?
That's crazy.
And I could have argued about it. I was like, nah, okay. This is a game you want to play, and I can play it too. So first thing I did before I called my friends at the ACLU was sent Rokita a letter like, "Hey, what's the criteria for being credentialed media?" Crickets.
Mm-hmm.
Send them a formal request. What's the criteria for being credentialed media? Nothing. So I'm like, okay, great. And so once that next day, I called the ACLU. They just got a ruling from the Supreme Court on some abortion-related issue. They were really depressed. I was like, "Hey guys, how's it going?" Like, "Well, I think I may have something for you here that you may find interesting." Like, what? Todd Rokita just banned me from his news conference. It's like, It's like, oh my, it's like the little kid at Christmas time.
They're celebrating like, yeah, he did what?
ACLU loves that.
Whatever that thing was that he really wanted, the BB gun. You put your eye out.
Yeah.
Literally, he was. They were like, oh my God, Abdul, thank you. So we ended up filing litigation and eventually ended up settling.
Uh-huh.
Then Rokita had to say, I want to save the taxpayers' money. Like, well, you could have saved taxpayers' money, but let me in the thing, you dumbass.
In the first
right,
place, yeah.
right.
Instead of calling you a gossip columnist, which I thought was
save
hilarious.
taxpayers' money by settling, right? Yeah, great
Insane.
guy. You know, Abdul, we also have an enemy of Lockpod is another gentleman named Gabe Whitley. And I know that Gabe Whitley is also an enemy of Abdul. So, like, naturally, we're naturally close to you because we have common enemies. And enemies of my friend, what is that, Jill? You said it earlier.
Enemies of my
My enemy is my friend.
That's right. So, welcome, my friend. Gabe Whitley, who has stalked me, drove a caravan of people across the state to parade in front of my house, which we mocked and had the biggest Lockpod episode of all time that day. And then they drove their silly asses all the way back to Evansville. Is also, and this is
been causing you problems,
but like a darker turn.
Yeah.
Like, not only is he a pain in your ass, just generally, he's also online threatening you, and so much to the point that the FBI's gotten involved. Is that true? Are you allowed to talk about this? Because if you're not, I'll bounce. I'm sorry. We lose him?
You there, Abdul?
Did we lose Abdul?
Well, he's on video.
He looks okay.
Connection issues. So
yeah,
we're gonna actually,
John,
Abdul, as soon as you can hear Abdul, let us know.
John,
I'll try
For
and
some
give
reason,
him.
guys, you're frozen on my
yeah.
end.
Hold on.
I'll try and give him
on.
a buzz back.
Hold on.
Okay,
We're calling you back, bud.
Yep.
Okay. So just hang loose.
I mean,
everybody.
actually, so just a little bit of history as we get into it and we get Abdul back on. Gabe Whitley is this guy from Southern Indiana. He started like as a huge Trumper, and then he like disavowed Trump and was chasing DeSantis for a while. He ran for Congress uneventfully. He's tried to like become something down there. In my opinion, he was trying to jump on the Trump bandwagon.
Yeah, for sure.
And then
it was early too. Like it was when the Trump bandwagon was really.
I want to say like 16, right? Like 16,
Yeah.
because
It was really like at the beginning of the Trump, when he was starting to become a real major force.
Yeah.
And we got him back. Abdul,
We're back.
Awesome.
Good to see you, bud. Yeah, we can tell something was going on. You just sat there looking confused for a second.
And so did we.
Hey,
That would be
so
my normal look during the day. So
so we were talking about Gabe while you were gone, Abdul, and sort of filling in the audience on Gabe Whitley. And then I know that, and if you're not allowed to talk about this, please bounce us and we'll go to another topic. But I know that Gabe Whitley, who seems like a lovable loser, sort of like it's taken like a dark turn with you, and he's threatening you like with violence. And I know,
yeah. And the funny thing was, I couldn't quite figure out what his deal was because when it all, I think it stemmed back to back in 2022 when Curtis Hill got in trouble for playing grab ass in a bar.
uh-huh.
And Curtis was a friend of mine and still is. But hey, like, dude, this is 21st century. You can't be doing that
No shit.
anymore.
Right.
Come on. So me and my colleague Rob Kendall, we criticized Curtis even though we're still good friends. But hey, wrong is wrong. And then Gabe just went on this tirade kick and just got nuts and crazy. He called my colleague Rob Kendall a pedophile.
Whoa.
Defamation.
Defamation. And the fun thing was he did that under a pseudonym, a gentleman by the name of Spencer McDaniel, who we later find out that it was Gabe's sort of pseudonym.
Wow.
Then, mostly back in January, he called me like a child rapist.
Defamation.
Accused, stealing money from the Marion County Fairgrounds. That was actually an easier case to prove because that was defamation per se. Because Tom, you're an attorney.
Yes, sir.
It's one thing if it's a third party under a fake name, you may have trouble establishing, but this was pretty much straight and pretty clear.
What was the court case that you guys had? Was it a protective order, or was it he filed a protective order against you?
Yeah. If he filed a protective order against me, he said I threatened to kill him. I don't know what that was all about. And then he said I sent him a threatening letter. Well, I did send a threatening letter, but it was a letter from my attorney, like, hey, you can't call Abdul a child rapist. You can't say he stole money.
Sounds very threatening. And by the way, it resulted.
Stop calling me names.
It resulted in one of my favorite tweets ever because we put it up at the time. So John's going to throw this up. It says it was Abdul tweeting, and it says, "Guess who got their ass kicked in court this afternoon? Here's a hint. His initials are Gabe Whitley." So we really loved that and put that up on Lockpod when that happened.
Oh no, that was great. And the weird thing was, I was like, dude, what are you doing? First in the morning when we wake up, I can live with that. But once you start making those type of allegations, those type of accusations, then we'll get to the protective order matter. on just a bit here. I was like, okay, no, this we're not doing. So filed my motion for defamation per se, and actually he responded with motions to dismiss and summary judgment. And folks, not to get in the weeds and all this, but let's put it this way: there are certain things that even a freshman at a fifth-tier law school would know, and Gabe didn't even know that.
Wow.
I was like, oh my god. Tom, imagine the dumbest person you went to law school with. Gabe's like 12 times dumber when it comes to legal
That's
matters.
awesome.
And you went to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
You went to one of the schools, for law in the country. So it was weird and bizarre. He didn't answer what's called a request for admissions during the discovery phase of a trial. And if you don't answer within a certain time or get an extension, your admissions are automatically considered to be admitted. They're in the record.
Right.
So I asked him, like, did you call Abdul a child rapist? This, and this. He never answered.
Boom.
So they were admitted.
It's admitted.
Therefore, there's no issue. There's nothing to discuss anymore. So the court granted my motion for summary judgment. So now we got a damages hearing on a few weeks.
Now what?
Do you have damages? I mean, do you have damages you could prove from? I mean, because he's going to owe you money.
Well, per se, right? Damages are assumed.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, per se, the damage is automatically assumed.
Damn.
So Abdul, now tell me, like recently, in fact, just a couple hours ago, there was like a story about Gabe Whitley getting in some more trouble. Like he actually got charged criminally, I believe, and there is something else going on with his former congressional campaign account.
Yes, Mr. Whitley is he's sort of facing charges. You guys ever watch Star Trek?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
This episode of the Next Generation, when the Federation is surrounded by a couple of Romulan vessels, and so General Picard blah blah, and then the Romulan commander's like, "Hey, you're ready to surrender, Captain Kirk?" Well, not necessarily. Then he presses the button, and the 3 Klingon ships decloak around that. So
now you're like,
Gabe's like the eyes, and all these ships are decloaking around him, and like we're screwed here. Like, yeah, send to the Romulan commander, we surrender, because for the most part, that's what you got to do. Because on the campaign finance stuff, that's a federal matter.
Sir.
Mm-hmm.
And his home was raided in the FBI.
His home was raided.
Yeah,
Wow.
yes.
Yeah, that sucks.
That's what kept a lot of his
That's a bad day.
information. And then on the other hand, you got him calling me a pedophile, which that's civil litigation. And then when he posted a picture of my home online and saying, "No, but this is during the week that Donald Trump got shot." Or shot at? No, he was shot at a rally in Pennsylvania. Well, it was like somebody should do this to Abdul. And I was like, "Oh,
Jeez,
no
way.
That
Holy
sucks, dude.
cow.
I'm sorry, Abdul. That's fucking horrifying.
But he's been charged with Class 6 felony threats and intimidation.
Yeah.
And by the
No
way, the
way.
funny thing is, is an elected official, people can make outrageous comments about elected officials, and it's called the First Amendment. Abdul is a private citizen. And, he's getting these outrageous accusations lobbied at him. And I think if they were lobbied at somebody like Mayor Hogshead would have a harder time going to court and proving defamation. But Abdul's a private citizen.
Well, he's a private citizen, but I think arguably Abdul's public figure. But at the same time, I don't care if you're a public figure, elected official, or whatever. You still are not subject. You should not be subjected to and cannot be subjected to under the law with threats of violence, with threats to your family, with showing your home on in public media and social media. It's crazy.
And that's what I wrote in my legal brief, which was like, look, let's say for purposes of argument, I'm a public figure. 20 years, in the media light, we'll concede that.
I think you probably are, right? I mean, being realistic, everybody knows you, Abdul. So,
yeah, even though public figures are still protected, from acts of violence. You can't say you can say I'm an ass, sure, but you can't say I'm an ass who rapes children.
Right,
can't.
And you can't say you're an ass who rapes children. And I'm going to come kill you.
right, exactly.
Exactly. And even worse, gentlemen, were the alleged victims in all this. One of the victims was apparently some woman who lived in the Chicago suburbs of Dalton, Illinois.
That's where Mayor Tiffany is.
Tiff.
Yeah, there's a Dalton, Illinois. He's like Dalton City, Illinois. Like, well, there is no Dalton City, Illinois in suburban Cook County. There's a Dalton City, Illinois near Decatur, Illinois, which is like 200 miles south away. Like, what the hell are you doing?
Strange, man.
And for stuff to be, my thing is, it's got to be at least believable for it to be trusted.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just say something about an individual just so out of the ordinary. That's ridiculous. As my lovely mother would say, I hate it when you can't even do wrong right.
Yeah. Hey, Abdul, let me ask you. You're a man who's very wise into politics, okay? And obviously we have some races going on in Indiana right now. But what's your take nationally? I mean, right now, if you think election was held today, what do you think would happen nationally, not just in Indiana? I
would think it'd be a very close race from the popular vote, but I think electorally, based on the polling data I've seen so far, is Kamala Harris in a landslide.
Okay. All right, and then what do you think about in Indiana with the governor's race, the attorney general's race? Where do you lay right now? Because
I I think Trump wins Indiana, probably maybe by a little bit lesser margin than he did before, maybe like 10 to 15 points and change.
So what, like
57.
57, yeah, 43.
Yeah, something like
or
that.
whatever.
right?
With the,
Maybe like 55, 45.
okay.
So that's kind of
Almost.
consistent with what we were talking about, that we thought his
Wasn't that
numbers were
when
going
Todd
to
beat
go
me,
down.
It was 55-45, if I remember correctly, was it? Or was it worse?
I don't
know.
Well,
Whatever.
We don't have to
Kevin
relive
was-
that.
Yeah.
But the one thing I think is really interesting, though, is Mike Braun's numbers, because in Destiny Wells' poll and also in the Fox 59 poll, Braun was under 50%. He was 41% in the Wells poll, which people accuse of being a push poll. We can argue that. But in the Fox 59 poll, he was under 50%. And being a Republican gubernatorial candidate in Indiana with early voting starting basically in 2 weeks to be under 50%, okay, there's something not necessarily connecting.
Well, it always amazes me how high the libertarian vote is, at least over the last maybe 3 election cycles in Indiana, right? I mean, it's gotten as high as 12%, but even on the low end, I think it's like 6%.
Yeah, and the governor's race usually like 3 to 5. They did a lot better back in 2020 when Don Rainwater and the whole pandemic. But as Thomas, you well know, you can't fight the last war.
Right.
It's now a new election. Now things have moved on a bit. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with Braun, and can he get over 50% of the vote in a 3-person race? Because remember, in Indiana, you don't need a majority to win; just need a plurality.
Right. Braun's he's not as lovable as Holcomb, in my opinion. Honestly, he's really sort of more toxic, caustic. I don't
Polarizing.
know.
Yeah.
Polarizing. But do you believe polls anymore, Abdul? Because I don't. I'm a politician. When I hear a poll, I'm instantly suspicious.
My thing is this: I always tell people polls are not predictions; they're snapshots in time.
Are they accurate?
But I think it depends on how big your sample size is. What questions did you ask? For example, we've done polling in Indie Politics before, and we're going to start doing it again probably early next week on the statewide races, and I have a really good pollster. And my thing is this: you sort of match up what the poll said to what the results were, and see who came closest. Mm-hmm. That's how I kind of measure a poll success. But I tell people, poll is part art and it's part science. Mm-hmm. So you say, got to keep that in mind.
I'm like, when I'm a candidate now, and people come up to me and say, "I need $15,000 so we could do a poll," they fight me tooth and nail because I think it's a waste of $15,000.
I think ever since 2016, it's been like that, right? Ever since like the Trump-Hillary race,
cell phones and the ability to screen calls have made it much harder to poll.
See, but actually, here's the thing, though: the polls in actually 2016, upon retrospect, were actually right. Hillary Clinton did win the popular vote by about
good point.
Good point. When it happened, but that's not how we elect.
Good point.
Very good point.
Touché.
Sit up, Abdul.
With the electoral college. And the other thing too is, I argue she would have probably won. The Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania had she just showed up, but they got lazy.
Yeah, they did.
Yes, they did.
Don't tell hey, you need to get up here. Talk to these people. They're like, "Where's Hillary? Where's Hillary?" Because you're already sort of Hillary's a smart woman, but she has a very unlikable personality. It's unfortunate, but that's the world we live in. So
I think
you got to make that personal connection with people, and Trump did. I tell people, Trump is an ultimate salesperson because you don't build tall buildings in New York City and Chicago unless you know how the game is played. And Trump is a massive learner how the game is played. And I got to give credit where credit's due.
Oh, I don't like him at all, but like he's changed politics forever because of his presence. He changed the game, and he's succeeded. Regardless of whether you agree with his policies or not.
Yeah, hopefully. It seems like he's becoming less and less successful since 2016, and we'll see what happens this year.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
I feel the same way as Kevin. Like, each time he's put to the test, it seems like his numbers are getting smaller and smaller. It's focusing more on his base, but...
Yeah, because like most reality TV shows, it gets older.
There you go.
Yes,
the third sequel isn't as good as the first one, right?
Right.
Unless you're talking about Star Trek or Star
Wars. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, next gen, right?
So, Abdul,
all right.
I'm sorry it's taken so long to get you on the show. Would you come back again, please?
Yeah, actually, let's try to get back together after the election. We can actually, I can probably come back on after we get our poll results in a couple weeks.
Do that.
Come back on after the election.
That'd be great.
Could we do that? As soon as your poll results come out, let's touch base again. We'll line up another date. Thank you.
Hey, we'll do it, my friend.
Thank you very much, Abdul.
By the way, I love the tight shirt.
Thanks, brother. Hey, man. Hey, do me a favor, Abdul, for our audience. Let them know how they could read more about you and hear you.
Sure, you can follow me on Twitter, ATTY Abdul, or IndyPolitics.org, IndyPolitics, INDY, Politics.org. You can go to my website, IndyPolitics.org. And also, a little thing I do is I do a thing called the cheat sheet. It's like my little Washington Whisperers newsletter. It's $50, $100 every 6 months, but it's like the best gossip room and innuendo you'll ever find. And it's got the bad habit of being right.
I love it. I love it. How do you get the cheat sheet?
Just go to Indie Politics, look for my picture of me with a cigar, martini, lift up the Capitol Dome, and hit subscribe.
Where's your cigar, man? I thought you were going to be smoking during this interview.
My wife was like, don't smoke this morning. Like, yes, ma'am.
Right, there you go.
Good job. Happy wife, happy life.
Thanks, Abdul.
Thanks, Abdul.
Exactly.
Good to see you, bud. Have a nice day.
Yes, take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
He's great, isn't
That's
he?
awesome.
What do you think, Joe? That's your first time meeting him?
Yep.
He's very easy to talk to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
And knowledgeable.
He's a freaking stud, man. I love talking to him. I love going on his show. His show is just like that. It's just like very loose and just smart.
Kind of like Lockpod.
John?
Cool guy.
See?
Yeah.
See?
but-
We're
but
not
yeah,
freaking biased here. We're like, we bring on all sides. We try to. I mean,
One Republican and
I mean, 3 Democrats.
episodes.
3
I mean, it's
Democrats
been about
too.
300 episodes. What'd you say, John? 300? Is that what you just said?
306 episodes.
Dude, I want him to
who's
come
counting,
back.
though?
I definitely want him to come back. He's awesome, right?
Yeah, it'd be great. Especially after he gets new poll numbers. That'll be great.
Right.
A
That
little
story,
update
about,
and
that story about Gabe is so crazy.
it's insane.
What
And we're
a
just going to
fucking
keep following
psycho.
it.
Dude, I'm so glad I didn't take the psycho out of him because that could have been
Yeah.
on me for sure.
Yeah.
And I handled it. I was like petting him on the head. Go away, Gabe. Don't threaten me, Gabe.
That's
and
right.
then he left. And
And he
then
went and threatened
he
Abdul.
focused on Abdul.
I want to read, I want to know what his tweet said exactly about the call to violence, because that would up until this point, you kind of look at Gabe as, like you said, like a lovable you
loser.
wish him well even though you're on the wrong side.
I
of
don't
the
think I
fence.
wished him well, but I was just like, what?
I was
This
like,
guy's like,
I talked to him in public. I'd be like, hey, Gabe.
Yeah.
And right.
But then this call to violence, I mean, that's just too far,
Yeah.
man.
Dude, that's where
Yeah.
politics is
a
going
bridge
nowadays.
too far, John.
Yeah.
See, you lose John when you start threatening.
Mhm. John doesn't like that.
John does
No.
not like that.
Wrap it up, Locomotive.
Dan, I will. Thank you, Kevin. It's good to see you again. Thanks for letting us use the beautiful Smith-Sursick studio. I mean,
The
Smith
Powering
Sursick
Indiana
Law,
Lake County studio.
the Powering Indiana Lake County studio located in the Smith-Sursick Law Firm.
There you go.
You notice how I added that?
That was very nice.
Giving you props, dude.
Thank you. You don't have to do that, but I
That's all right.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate you. Great to see you. Great additions. Oh, my God. I forgot to mention to Abdul we were going to see the Eras Tour in Indy.
Don't worry.
And
He's
I
going
had
to be
my
back
friendship
on.
bracelet
He's going to be back on before we
I know.
go.
Okay, so we'll get him back on in
Yeah.
2 weeks. Then we can talk to him about the Eras Tour. There's a lot of
You got the best bracelet. Like,
there's
these
a
are
lot
nice-
of crazy shit going on down there too in Indy. It's like they're eating their own down there right now. So I don't know if we want to touch on that, but
We want to just get to the Taylor Swift concert,
I do want to get to the Taylor Swift concert.
so that's what we'll focus on.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Kevin, how is your education coming?
Really good. Thank you, Jill, for the text.
I'm
She's giving
I'm
me
a little jealous, but
Well, you already have
Do
it.
you want-
You
do
can
you
send
want
it to
in on
Tom
this?
too.
Okay,
it's
it'll
great.
be a good
Yeah.
chat.
but like honestly, like I'm stuck in 1989.
Do you think she'll
and
sing-
I'm stuck
oh,
in Reputation. I'm
Yeah,
like
do you-
stuck in those eras.
Do you think
I
she'll?
love them?
Will she
Okay.
sing Tim McGraw?
I don't even know that
She
song.
Which song?
might- It's one
That's
of
a
her
country one,
early,
right?
early
Yeah.
ones. Yeah.
What Indiana celebs is she going to have down there in their
Man.
little VIP
Us.
tent?
Tom
Us.
McDermott.
Lock Pod.
Yeah. You imagine you get the
Mayor
call,
Joe.
Tom,
Oh,
and you're standing next to Tom
If I was the
Cruise.
22 girl,
oh!
I want to be the 22 girl.
Yeah.
I would cry like a freaking
I
baby.
wish I knew what that
I'd be
was.
like,
That's
you don't know the
what
22. He
come
hasn't
on,
gotten to that part of his
Kevin.
education.
I'm not getting. Yeah, Jill hasn't got me there yet.
He's just learning what Taylor's version means. Did you
That's
read
right.
the article?
Yeah,
Who?
thank
Oh,
you.
Kevin. Oh, good job. Yeah,
I'm going
so
to be
yeah.
there.
What was that dude's name? Scooter or something like that?
Scooter Braun.
See, man, check me out.
Look at you.
Look at you.
Check me out.
You
bought her
deserve that.
whole
You
library.
deserve to wear that bracelet.
Thank you.
Look at you.
I've been doing my Taylor Swift education. I think she's a great person. I'm excited, like really excited about this concert.
I'm
so,
I'm
can't
getting
wait.
more and more and more excited.
Yeah.
Do you want in on this daily group?
Why not?
Send it.
Why not? Doesn't
Okay.
hurt. Doesn't
All
hurt. I could ignore. I could ignore another text daily. I get daily texts all the time. So,
I noticed Tom always has his notifications silent.
well,
Like,
dude,
Smart.
some of our fucking text chains
You
are
have to.
ridiculous.
You
dude.
have
true.
to. I have multiple text chains on silent.
And then like the,
Usually the ones with Steve are on silent.
Yeah,
yeah,
even well.
yeah,
But I wish you well, Steve. I hope you're doing better.
Hope your eye's doing all right.
yeah, man. We're not jacking with you, Steve.
No.
Every other show we jacked with you. This is we're legit.
Yep.
We definitely want you to get better.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening to Lockpod. I was about to mess with them, but I decided to just leave it right there. Just leave it right there. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, everybody, for listening to Lockpod. Thanks to Abdul. Listen to him on WIBC. Download the cheat sheet. He's the best. And thanks for coming on Lockpod. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Season 13, Episode 6 is in the books. We'll be back on Tuesday with another high-quality episode. Thank you. Lockpod's out.